Hello, happy Monday, and welcome to the Bee Formless Flow Driven CEO podcast. I love that I can say happy Monday because we're both in on a Monday. Welcome, Paula Falco, to the show, all the way from London. I forgot to ask exactly where in London you're based, Paula, or you might have mentioned it.
Um, well, Dee, thank you so much for inviting me for this talk.
No,
I'm
you're
based in South London.
South London. Yeah, cool. But you're not from London. Where are you from?
No, I'm originally from Brazil.
Yes, I love your accent. And then mine's such the Aussie accent. But yeah, Paula, it's so nice to have you on the show. I know it's Monday morning, London time, and evening Monday evening here, Australian time. So I'm quite thrilled that we've been able to sync our schedules because I feel like we've got a lot to chat about. But I wanted to firstly recognize and celebrate all the successes you've had in terms of your corporate world, now what you're doing with your own business. You're a strategic advisor, you're a speaker, you're the founder of Falco UX. I'm glad I got that bit right too. And it's a consultancy that guides, supports, helps companies realign brand leadership, culture, optimizing it with human-centered values, which I absolutely love. Not only that, you've got 2 decades of experience advising Fortune 100 companies. That's super impressive. Mentoring rising leaders and facilitating executive transformation. And I love that your belief is rooted in the belief that progress happens when people feel seen, heard, and safe enough to contribute. And then the fact that you blend at Falco UX, you blend that strategic clarity with what I like to call soulful empathy to help leaders reshape systems from within. Now, I know you've been in the corporate world and then you kind of had your own form of burnout, if you like, and then came and started your own business. Tell us about your journey and tell us, yeah, I'd love to hear a bit about your story.
So I am a designer at core. I graduated as an industrial designer 100 years ago, last century.
We're the same age, so I
And
relate, right? Like, what
yes,
I'm 47.
we, from the 1900s, late 1900s. So I graduated as an industrial designer focused in product design. And back in Brazil, industrial design was very attached to architecture and just building everyday products, right? Um, there was not a lot of space for women in that field. So I end up also working with design, packaging design, graphic design, editorial design, all sorts of design. When design was designed before what design is today,
I love
right? Uh,
You got a
but
lot of
before I
design going
did,
on in the background as well, which I absolutely love. All your,
oh
yeah,
yes, it's an artist house, so
yeah,
it's
I
gonna be a
can
lot of art.
tell.
But I remember before I did industrial design, my parents were very strongly, they were very strong about me doing business school, right? Because they thought that would bring money to the table. And I did a little bit of business school, and then started doing design. And when I graduated, I said, how can I put these two together? Right? I felt that there was uh, 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 a space there, an opportunity there. And that's what it was exactly at the time when IDEO and Stanford came together and launched the design thinking process, even though we know it kind of always started at the Institute of Design in Chicago. But I think when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is the opportunity that I've been looking for, right? But there were no readings, there were no books, there was nothing available in Brazil for that kind of content. Everything was in English. And after some time, I did a master's in strategic design back in Brazil, where I touch a lot of marketing, so not a lot of design thinking processes. And while I was doing graduating from that, I met some people from a big bank in Brazil, and they talked about this boot camp that was happening at the Institute of Design. So I called my father and I said, "Hey, you know that wedding money that you were saving up?" And he was like, "Are you getting married?" It was like, kind of, but not really. So um, I managed to go to Chicago to do a boot camp there. And I applied for their master's. They only took 100 students per year. I wasn't very convinced that I would get in, but they sent me a letter and accepting me. So it was a piggy bank in the family. Everybody got together to help me, like pursue this. I had an agency back then. I was working with branding and strategic reviews for companies. And I closed my agency, I sold my car, I put my apartment to rent, and then I went to Chicago. In Chicago, I did my master's there, and then they invited me to be the adjunct professor for the service design
Wow.
class. And I stayed there until I got hired by a company called Acta. Acta was a small agency, very similar to IDEO, but different from IDEO. They would actually deploy the processes and solutions,
Yeah.
right? And after a month that I was at Acta, we got acquired by Salesforce.
Oh. Wait, that doesn't even make sense to me. Like that's like almost like going from like yeah. Anyway, sorry I interrupted you, but it just I went.
No, it was like a big jump. So I wasn't expecting that shift of career so early on. And it's funny because I was looking for smaller companies. I was like, this is my first job overseas. It's the first time that I actually am going to work with international people. So I wanted a small company. And what happened was, once I moved to Salesforce, I started working with clients. My visa in America didn't fall through and they had to ship me overseas. So they transferred me to London. And in London, I started leading teams, leading projects. I was their community ambassador for design, where I was helping create the governance between countries when it comes to deliveries. And after working with big clients at Salesforce like Barclays, Deutsche Bank, Australia Post,
Yeah, yeah, you
um,
said that. Yeah.
and Unilever, Max, and so on. I got invited by Oracle to be their director of design under their hospitality pillar. I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I got invited by Wood Mackenzie to be their vice president of product and design. And it was lovely because the whole team from from Scotland, and then like the whole Scottish vibe. So I learned a lot. In Oracle, I had a team from India, Malaysia, Mexico,
Wow.
etc. And then Wood Mackenzie, people from all Scottish. Like everything was pretty different. I learned a lot. But after 20 something years, you get a little tired.
I hear you.
And and higher you get, you realize that it's not much about the job. It is about the relationship you have with people. It's about the politics of the job. Sometimes you have very good decisions to be made, but they're not made because of politics.
Mm.
And you need to have good relationships in-house to make those happen. And I was like, I don't know if I have the profile to keep that going. So I'll just open my consultancy, and if people want to hear what I have to say, they'll just hire me to do so.
So did you actually leave? Like you left and then you started your consultancy, or did you start your
Yes.
consultancy on the side, like as a starting point?
No, I quit and then I stayed a couple of months in a little sabbatical. My daughter was almost 2 years old. Like I was missing a lot in her early years. And after some time and talking to some friends, my networking is amazing. They were like, "You should do consulting." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe I should." And I opened the company, and it's been doing good. I cannot complain, and it's great because I can manage my time.
Yeah.
Like life work balance is great.
Yeah, amazing. What was that like for you that moment when you were just like, I'm exhausted, I can't keep doing this? Like, were you like scared? Like, were you like, oh, I don't know, like, was there any
Course.
point when you were like, I'm gonna go from like, that steady income, you know everything, it's all there, you know what I mean? And then you go into your own business and yes, you're awesome at networking and you've got a stellar, but it's almost like, I don't know about you, but did you just kind of go, like, did you question yourself? Like, can I do
All
this?
the time.
Is this going to work?
All
Like,
the time.
you know what I mean?
All
It's
the time. All the time. And it's funny because people, I have a lot of mentees and they all come to me with this imposter syndrome problem. I was like, everybody has imposter syndrome. Like Obama has imposter syndrome. There's no way a healthy human being cannot have imposter syndrome. You question yourself all the time. Doesn't matter how successful you are. And it's funny because for people that are starting their career or in their mid-career, they look at you and they think you are successful. But when you are in an executive level, you have other executives around you and you compare yourself to them
no,
and you don't feel successful, right? You feel that you're lacking something. You feel that you're not achieving as much. So the vulnerability that I think we have doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the experience, doesn't matter how high we go. We do have that imposter syndrome. And when I quit, I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what am I doing? Because I achieved the level that I always looked for, but then I wasn't feeling
fulfilled.
fulfilled.
Yeah. It's such
And
a weird, it's such a weird feeling, don't you think? Like I don't know about you, but when I got there as well, like I was like, I'm here now. Like I'm at the top of my, like I could keep going. I could like, but I got there and I was just like, I don't know, like I reflect now and I'm like, it was just like, and it was just almost and like, is this it? Like I kept thinking to myself, I'm exhausted. Like, this is just, it's taken so much effort to get here. And yet I've had to compromise a lot along the way as well. Like you're talking about, with your 2-year-old daughter, I tried to have children, but I left it no doubt too late from an IVF perspective, or lots of things happened, complications, and only talking about that now. But I look at how that everything around me was my life was fitting into work. It wasn't work was fitting into my life, and I had to really learn how to undo that. Like, did that like was that kind of where you were at in terms of you weren't fulfilled, and then it was like, well, then how do I shape my business or what I do next to ensure that it does come from a place of where I do feel fulfilled as well?
I think it is a personal shock, right? Because for 20 something years, you do have a routine, you do have a dynamic, you do have a speed of doing things. And I remember the first day that I was free of work, I had nothing to do. I just had to take my daughter to the nursery. So I woke up, took my daughter to the nursery. I came home. I sat on the couch, was like, "Sh- what what do I do?" Because I always had a full agenda. I always had a full calendar. I always had calls and it wasn't like a holiday situation that I knew that things will come back and I had a holiday planned. It was like now I have nothing. What do I do with nothing? And I think that dolce fa niente mindset grows on you little by little. You start to learn how to slow down and respect your body. And I think women, and you know what I'm going to be talking about, like when we reach the 40s, right? Um, our body changes like we are teenagers, right? We have different things going on
Good
inside.
analogy, like with like teenagers. I hadn't thought about it that way, but it's so true.
It is because it's a whole different dynamic that happens. And I found out that I had ADD after I was 40 something, like all that happened at the same time. So it's good for you to take a step back and reformulate everything like in your mind. What am I doing right and what am I doing wrong?
Mm.
So it took me about a year, like 6 months, a year to find myself, I think, in the world of home and who am I as a professional, not having everybody around me? Because when you become your own company, you also become your marketer, your salesperson, your accountant, your admin, your doer, everything, right? Um, and what are my values? I can play with my values, I can play with my principles, and I don't need to uh, uh, be worried about anybody else or anything else. Like I'm creating everything from scratch, which is beautiful, but it's overwhelming.
Yeah,
And
so true. My God, I so relate that starting everything from scratch. I was having this very conversation the other day with somebody that I think it was a mum going, I'm just feeling overwhelmed and I can't put my finger on it. But it's because what you just said, you're doing everything, but it's different to what you were doing in your previous world, right? Sorry, I interrupted you, but I totally
No, it's
relate.
okay. And I think my relationship with my partner changed for the better. My relationship with my daughter changed. And I am still connecting with her in ways that I never thought I could, right? Because if I was all the time out, if I was in the same dynamic as I was as an executive, I wouldn't have the time that I have with her now.
Mm.
Like we take her to school late in the morning, we pick her up from school and we spend the evening together and we do everything, like all these plans that I couldn't do before. The quality time and also doing clients and doing meetings and conferences and all together. So I think um, I have nothing to complain about. I don't have any regrets, right? Will I go back corporate one day? Maybe, but you see, now I'm smarter. Now, for someone to hire me, it needs to be a great job opportunity. And it's
Yeah,
not about salary and it's not about job title. It's about me being able to continue this lifestyle that I have.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think, and one thing that I noticed throughout my career is that companies are very focused in processes and numbers, right? And they forget that if they touch the people, not only the people that work in their companies, but also the people that buy their products, it's all human related, right? If it wasn't for the humans around, there wouldn't be a business, a service, or a product or anything happening. But if you focus on that, you actually get better return of investment, you get better revenue, you get all that.
Better
Um,
engagement, all of it. Yeah.
Better engagement. I think that we have a clash of generations for the first time in history. You have five generations working together, right? So we have from boomers to Gen Alphas kind of like participating in the same job
I
market.
know.
And the values of the late millennials, the Gen Zs, and the alphas are emerging, and it's like annulling and muting all that old thinking that we had from the boomers and the early Gen X. So I think values are changing. The way that we relate to people are changing, and the way that we do business is changing as well. But companies are still not prepared for that, to
Yeah.
focus on people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I think being in touch with myself made me realize that, like how can we actually be better as people with people?
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I think that I was very much similar. I was so disconnected from myself. I don't know about you, but I was completely disconnected. Mind, body, soul was disconnected. And I had to really kind of put it all back together. And, you've touched on quite a few things from a business perspective. And, I was keen to ask you this because of your corporate experience, but also now your lived experience and, that call it burnout, if you will, or exhaustion, and then learning how to, I guess, like what fulfillment looks like, but like, you've reshaped your own business, you've reshaped your life, you've reshaped your career to work for you, right? In terms of what you're doing and what you're seeing with the clients you're working with, and based on the fact that you do work in, optimization, strategy, leadership, values, people and stuff like that. What do you see? Like, are you seeing that there is still a long way to go? And I'd love your point of view on this because I do have a point of view, but I want your point of view. Do you still think there's a really long way to go before we catch up or we move into this new world where you've just talked about the different generations and the younger generations and values, or, I call it energy, attitude, and behavior is changing? Like, do you think it's going to take a long time for us to be able to make that true shift into this new world order, if you like? I don't know if my question is making complete
Yeah,
sense.
it does make sense. I don't, yes and no, right? I think at the same time that we see a big upbringing of values and equality and new ways of thinking and doing business, right? I cannot wait for Gen Zs to take over world leadership, to be
Yeah,
honest. I
agreed.
cannot wait for Gen Zs to be a chief of states, like and be heads of politics. I cannot wait for that to happen. But in the meantime, we also see big bumps, like little political changes in some areas, in some countries, removing women, removing people of color, removing this, removing that, having an old spill happening and people applauding it at the same time. So we do have a big clash happening. And I think that's normal with human history. The clash happens all the time. But when I feel that we're taking like a step forward, maybe we're taking a step back, like little by little. It's not going to be as fast as I thought,
Mm,
but it is happening. I see that the world for my daughter today, it is extremely much better than the word that I had for me.
yeah, I agree.
I had I had behaviors at work from when I was an intern, from when I was a junior, mid-level, senior, and executive that I know my daughter won't have contact with that.
Mm,
I see how men and women are being raised today, and there is more conversation, there is more mindfulness, there is more sharing, there is more respect, right? There is more understanding. People talk about vulnerabilities more often than before, right? Even when it's funny, like, and people that will listen to this podcast later, if you are a leader that hires Gen Z and Gen Alpha, you know how they behave at work. They just don't show up. I didn't woke up well. Like I'm not feeling good today. My hair is not great. I'm not going to work. Or I just feel that maybe the energy in the office wasn't great for me, so I just went back home. There are funny stories about Gen Z that wouldn't be accepted by any means when I was starting my career. And yeah, and that acceptance of like, okay, let's just respect people. Let's just make sure that the work that life is controlling your work style and not work is controlling your lifestyle.
mm, mm.
So everybody's going to create like a beautiful identity. The problem with that is that the level of organization, right? When we have too much freedom, too much creative, too much um, self-centered value, we lose processes, we lose administration, we lose, like protocols. So I think a little bit of the old school needs to stay for things to be ran, but well, for things to move forward. But I don't know. I think in 10 years' time, we're gonna be seeing a much better Earth,
Yeah,
hopefully.
I love what you're talking about, and it's quite interesting because obviously your background's design, and from a UX perspective, it's almost like UX is it's almost like it's shaping or redesigning five generations and how they all work together and how they all gel together. You could almost use that analogy, right, in terms of it's the evolution of UX. But I couldn't agree with you more. I think we still need. It's almost like for me, I've always thought about it like you still need the experience of, the past or more experienced people, but you also need the up and comings to also teach and show the more experience, what the future could look like, what is possible. It's like, how do you interconnect those two? Because, there's been such a disconnect, and what would they know? They don't have any experience, they don't have any credentials, but yet they're a completely different generation, and they value purpose. They want to live a life that's it's you're fulfilled first and foremost. It's not climbing a ladder where you're working 24/7 like you and I probably have. And I can count, there's times where I've had nights where I haven't slept for a few days because I've been working on pictures and things like that. So I'm excited about that because not anyone, you shouldn't have to, get to a point where you're absolutely exhausted and you're almost like this, like, what do I do now? I can't continue like that, right? And like, especially like you say, women in their 40s, like, you get to that age and you're just like, okay, you're navigating everything that's happening in life. And I think it happens to men as well. So in with your business, and is that something you're focusing on in terms of looking at how do you bring the two together? Like when you're going into businesses or you're working, do you look at, the different generations within and as part of what you're doing from an optimization perspective? Is that something that you focus on as well?
Yes, I see. Everything is human related, right? When we touch processes, when we touch communication, when we touch services, doesn't matter what it is. Even when we think about cross-functional teams, right? We have people's different profiles. We have personas. We have characteristics that should be respected. We have every human in the room that is motivated by fear, by eagerness, by whatever it is. You have feelings all over, right? And you have a level of vulnerability as well. Everybody's vulnerable on the table. And I have so it's funny because it goes the problems, they are very similar, but they do have specific points. If I talk to executive level, right? Like C-suite level, VP level. Um, and I like, and pardon whoever is going to listen to this, is like when we have a group of C-suit, it feels like we have a group of toddlers in the room because they don't need your help. They know everything.
I know.
They just do things in impulse and they have their own agenda, right? So it's not a collective environment. Um, this is what I'm talking about, the old school C-suit,
Mm,
right? When people have been there for 30 years, they think they know it all. They don't need to change anything because they know the formula of doing great. But the
yeah.
world is changing and you need to do better. And all these decisions that are made in the Olympus, right, with the gods in the Olympus, they are so disconnected from the floor, and they go like, why am I not reaching my target? Why my roadmap is not going to the direction that I wanted? What is all this loss? Why my sales are failing? Because you made decisions that don't connect with the rest. So I try to bring that vision from down up, like let's talk to the floor and up, 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 and in a clear, unfiltered 360 to see exactly what's happening. Because this guy that is moving pixels here talks to the manager about a problem. The manager talks to the director and it gets filtered. The director talks to the VP and it gets filtered. When the C-suite level asks, they go like, everything is fine. We don't need to change
Yeah, it's all
anything.
good. Yeah, because they don't, because there's a resistance to change because they've always done it this way. So why would they change it? But yeah, there's a
But
disconnected
And
gap.
it's the fear, right? If I say that there's a problem, it shows that I'm incompetent. If I am incompetent, they're gonna fire me, or they're not gonna promote
Yeah,
me,
you're
or they're not
right.
gonna, like so. We have to remember that all these interactions, doesn't matter if it's inside the company, even outside the company, is the person that's signing the contract, the end user of the product or service that you're having. The relationship that you're having, salespeople, are they just selling to meet the target, or are they selling to create a retention of customers,
Mm,
right? Are they selling the right products and services that actually fulfill the needs, or they just selling it by selling it? The process of creating a product or service, are we doing well, or just deploying to make sure that we have something in the market to sell?
mm,
Like, can we just take a step back and use 3 months of our time to think about if you're doing it right, like, and launch product with quality. So this rush, all this rush that people have, again, is people, right? It's not a computer that say like, you should do faster, you should do more.
yeah.
It's people that have this eagerness of not having to wait and so on. So, and then when you go to
There's so much,
mid-level,
sorry, just on that, Paula, there's so
yeah.
much power in the pause, don't you think? Like, even from, probably when you were in, C-suite in corporate, like you've got your own company now as well. But there was, I don't know about you, but sometimes I would just rush, 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 rush. And I was just like, I was in such a hurry because I just needed to get the results. But now I completely look and go, there is so much power in the pause. That's where we get to solution find, get the right results, really know, okay, what do we need to subtract out of the business, out of the team, out of the organization? I think that's one of the biggest challenges too, is getting businesses to be able to be okay with, look, we have to pause. It's not like we're turning the lights off, they're keeping the lights on, but you need to slow it down to understand actually, let's get to the root of actually what is going on in here to create the disconnection.
And it's funny because you're not asking to stop the machines. It's not
No.
like stop everything. It's like, okay, you can continue to deliver, but before we start delivering new things, can we just take a step back and increase the timeline? You own the product, you can increase the timeline uh, as much as you want. I'm asking 3 months, 2 months to make sure that we have a proper product or a proper service, right? The post sale, the whole client relationship is about that too. Or you're
Mm,
just gonna sell and let them go.
mm,
That's a very, very old thinking as well. Like, I don't need to care about them because we have billions of customers in the world. Well, at some point, it's going to die. And we are living in a society today that people get canceled like this, companies get canceled like this.
yeah.
People stop using services and products very easily. I remember when I was creating my CV, right? I had to do courses of Word, Excel. I had to I have to show certificate that I had a software certificate, right? And that is from the time where people had to adapt to softwares and
Mm,
not the other way around. Today, if you open an app on your phone and you don't understand that app in 20 seconds, you're just gonna delete it, right? So softwares and services need to be adapted to people needs and
yeah.
behaviors and not the other way around. So thinking that you're just deploying something and people just have to suck it up because this is what we're selling and this is what they have available, it's going to die. I see big companies losing market share for very small companies, not because the smaller companies and offerings are the same. They even offering less products and services, they're offering less, but because they have the usability and desirability that
Yeah.
people want, they
True.
they end up buying those licenses than from the big ones,
Mm,
right? We have new softwares coming in left and right because of that,
mm.
right? We have companies that are trying to adapt within time, but things can keep changing and keep evolving. You see, for example,
Excuse me.
Apple.
Sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. It's always the way, but I'm like, I could just feel it coming. Sorry.
So Apple had this beautiful innovation era, right? And now it's just doing a little bit of the same. We
Mm,
have Android solutions that matched
yeah,
technology or
so
even is
true.
above technology of Apple, but you do have the brand of Apple. You have Adobe systems, right? That can offer so many solutions and suits for creative work. However, we do have softwares today that do everything in just one, right? You see, they don't have the same quality, but they are easier to use, so people just go for that,
Yeah.
right? The real people that go like, oh, I'm a Photoshop specialist, right? You have so many other tools today that can do similar work as Photoshop. Like what are you relying on? Why do I need to open 5 different softwares on my computer to do the same job? Why
Mm,
can't I just open one and do everything
no.
at once? Um, then you have Figma, you have Framer, things that are coming in to
I love Figma.
substitute, yeah, like to substitute things. Like why am I having uh, 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 5 different boards, digital boards to use if I have Figma and FigJam at the same time? I'm not vouching or selling for any company,
No, I
but
know
what
what
I'm
you're
saying is that
saying. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know exactly what
the evolution of things is about perceiving people's behaviors needs, right? And what is the next service that I can provide that will suffice to that? And the user research, I see a lot of people learning on the side. I've seen POs, PMs, business people learning design thinking and design thinking processes, the user research, the analysis, synthesis, all that process. And that is beautiful because that's the new mindset of business, right? If you just go like, oh, I woke up this morning and I think we should do this requirement for the software, how do you validate that if you don't talk to the users, if you don't talk to the people that hired you, or how do you validate the need of that? How much money are you spending on empty work that you are creating in your company to do, like the man hour that you're spending for something that you won't
yeah,
come back? I remember,
yeah.
yeah.
so interesting you say this because, like, even like you were, earlier in the conversation, we were talking about, you were talking that, as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, you're doing it all yourself. You're doing the marketing, you're doing it all. My background was advertising and communications, right? So I had design, I had digital, I had, like, I had all the different departments, teams, PR, socials, you name it. And it's only, the last 3 years, well, two since I've had the company, but I have upskilled and taught myself so much that back in my corporate role and as managing director, there were so many things I didn't touch because I had people within the business to do it. But the one thing I've been able to do is really learn like things that I just go, oh, like it's awesome that, design thinking, like you say, like Figma and, sure, I've got a designer and art director that helps me on certain things, but like I have, and it's really empowered me as well as a user, like because I'm having a relationship with, like you say, some of these different programs that I would never ever in my wildest dreams thought, okay, I'm going to actually be able to say I can do this and I can do that now. And I love that in and the simplification of some of what you're talking about here in terms of more and more the services and products are getting much more sophisticated, but yet they're also super simple the way they're being developed, which I absolutely love because it makes it so much easier for the user. I'm no designer, gosh, like, but here I am designing things.
No, I think software is just like any technology, right? Doesn't matter if it's physical technology or digital technology, is there to help you enhance your productivity, is there to make you do things well and faster. However, just like artificial intelligence is coming now to
Yeah,
help us be more productive. But what people are worried about, are we going to lose our jobs? Yes and no. So if you are a person that just do the moving pixel here and there without thinking, yes, you're going to lose your job because someone like an AI can do that for you. But if you are an expert critical thinker behind all these actions, for you to be a Photoshop expert, you need to be an aesthetics expert, a photography expert. You need to understand the whole artistical thinking behind the
yeah,
photography to make sure that whatever you touch up is part of the vision of whatever needs to be done, right? And the same thing, a UX, a UI designer, a developer, etc. So we will need critical thinkers that are specialized in their areas to be able to use these tools the best way possible. But if you are just someone with empty mind, just using software just because you can, like your job is going to die.
mm,
Uh, Even the design thinking process, I think I've seen a lot of people doing like a 1 week in design thinking course on whatever. But then when they come to the company, they apply the design process wrong. And then the results are not what they're looking for, and they go like, oh, the process is wrong, design thinking is a flaw. They're like, actually no, the critical thinker behind that tool, that process that was given for you to promote innovation, right, was done wrongly. So what is that we need to do? We need to change the mindset of the company. We need to change the mindset of the people
yeah,
that are using the processes to make it right. um, I've seen people doing user research and they were leading the users for the answers that they wanted. That is as flawed as anything else,
yeah.
right?
Wow.
The analysis of the data that comes from user research, they were understanding what they wanted to understand, but not being anthropological enough to remove themselves from the criticism and actually find innovation from the data that they got. So and even creating new ideas. Oh, we have all these new things and areas of opportunity to embrace. Oh no, but let's just move on with that one because that's what we had in the roadmap, and then I don't want to send another PowerPoint presentation to my boss to change everything, right? So it is the mindset of the company. So when people say like, oh, this is the agile process, but the designers didn't have time enough to create or a better product or a better digital service, whatever it is, for the developers. The developers end up doing design,
Mhm.
took them twice the time to do it. They done it wrong, so they're gonna have to redo it. But because even though they done it wrong, it was launched already. You're gonna
Mm.
have to go back. You paying that 5 times in
Yeah.
people's work if you just had a week
Yeah, it's
for them
time.
to
It's back to this timepiece. And also
exactly.
and you know what? It's funny. Whenever I get someone to or when someone's booking in for the podcast, I ask them a question around, a unique inside experience that, whether it be in life, leadership, or business. And it's interesting that what we've been talking about, that it's almost like there's one piece here that we haven't actually embraced. And you have actually said that one unique insight I've gained both in leadership and life is that listening, and everything you've just been talking about now is more powerful than leading. Authentic leadership isn't about having the answers, it's about creating the conditions for the correct answers to emerge, especially from voices that are often overlooked. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that, please? Because you've been talking about it the whole way through, I feel like, but I love just the listening, and yeah, when things voices can get overlooked.
Um, doesn't matter the level that I am, right? If I am VP, whatever. I like always to go to my whole team. I like to talk to everyone in my team individually, one by one, and ask them, why are you here? What motivates you?
Mm,
What is your private life like? What problems do you have? And so on and so on and so on. I cannot ask someone to be productive if they have 3 kids at home and I'm asking them to go to the office every day
mm,
because their mind is not going to be at the office. Their mind is going to be with those 3 kids. I cannot ask someone that lives far away to take commute every day of an hour and a half to go to the office because they are caretaking they're caretakers of someone. They have other things to do. They need to go do gross, like the mental load that people have.
mm,
Doesn't matter the level, doesn't matter who they are. Everybody has a level of mental load. What can I do to help you eliminate part of that mental load
mm,
so you can be productive and focus at work? Oh, I work better from 3 a.m. to, I don't know, 9 a.m. Great. I don't care if you work underwater. I don't care if you work under your bed. I don't care if you like to work naked in your bathtub. Is that how you are productive? Great. Oh, you need me to go to the office. Okay, so for you to go to the office, what do you need? Oh, I cannot spend money with commute. Okay, let's give you that money. Oh, I cannot, I don't have childcare. Okay, let's give you childcare so you can be at the office. You are that good, so I'm going to invest in your private life so I can have you working for me,
mm.
right? Um, um, Bob doesn't like Jenny. Bob from this department doesn't like Jenny from this department. So things don't go in the company. So they don't work because they don't like each other, right? So how can we eliminate Bob and Jenny's attrition without eliminating them, right? Okay, instead of having them talking directly to each other, can we just create tickets where they don't know where it's coming from? So the human bias goes away. Like how can we be smarter in human relationships, right? And remove all the unconscious and conscious bias that people have against each other and also in their lives, right? People get sick, people have things around them going on all the time. And we have 2 people at the same level fighting for the same promotion, right? How can we be very mindful and talk to each one of them to say, are you really ready for this? Right? If
Mm.
you are, and so on. Your career is yours and not mine. So if you're not happy here, let me help you find a job elsewhere because I cannot give you what you're looking for. I've done that to people, and I'm going to say to you, they stayed.
Mm.
You helped them grow, and they stayed. You listen to them and you train them properly. You create a
Okay.
personal and development plan and a professional. They stay with you. They stick with you because they look at you not as a boss anymore, but as a friend. Be like, hey, that person is has my back. And And it's a two-way street, right? Because you need allies as well when you are at work to be successful. So if you have a team, you need that team to be with you
Mm.
so you can
Grab
be
each other's hand,
successful.
aren't you?
Yeah, and you need to be with them so they can be successful, right? And that's the whole reason why I wanted to become a leader, because I didn't have my needs met when I was a young designer, because nobody understood what I did and so on. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be a leader so I can respond to that. And listening is the biggest thing ever, because if someone is not being productive, if you're not meeting goals, what is wrong? Ask people.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter the
what's actually
level, doesn't
happening.
matter who they are. Just ask them, and you might get the answer you're looking for. You can change a whole company with that.
I love it, Paul. Are you like epitomizing what I see is the future of leadership, right? And for me, I call out that soulful piece, right? Like it's that understanding what's going on from the inside out for the people that are working for you. I absolutely love it. And I feel like this is the future of leadership. We need more of this leadership, especially when we talk about the five or so different generations having the ability to listen to truly understand, whether it's a baby boomer or whether it's a Gen Z or an alpha, and being able to tap into what makes them tick, what makes them motivated. I absolutely love your holistic approach to, I'm exactly the same. It's like I always say, and I used to always say to my team, especially with clients, like what's actually going on? Like let's try and work out what's going on. Like just because they're behaving like this, what's actually happening to them in their personal life? Like what's happening outside of work that might be actually, this may be the reason why they are behaving the way they're behaving. I think you can never underestimate what's actually happening within. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's so refreshing to hear someone like yourself with this view on leadership and everything that you're doing in your business. One last question for you. What would be I want to ask something about success, right? Because you have reshaped what success means. And I feel like the word success is still so wedded in success equals this, and this, and this. If you had to define what you saw as what success means now and into the future, and it might be too big a question, how would you define it? How would you redefine what success should look like for the world? That's a big question.
Well, for the world is it's a very big question. I think success is a personal metric, right? For everyone. What do you think success is? So people go like, oh, I think being like that person is being successful. Okay, so that's your metric, right? You aim to be similar to that person's position, money, whatever it is, like impact, influence, that is successful to you. If you get to that level, you're gonna be successful. But it's funny because for me, success was always to make an impact. So I do have little successes every day because if I make a little impact in someone's life or someone's businesses, I'm fulfilled, I'm successful, right? Um, uh, for me, whatever job title, money, and so on, it's the outcome, right? It's the response of those little successes that you have. I think for the world to be successful, we have to think about the collective. We are very individualistic right now. I don't think we as humans are individualistic, but leadership has been very individualistic. Like decisions have been made throughout the world, specific people making decisions for masses of people, right? And and I think world success, it would be collective thinking, but I don't know how evolved and mature humankind is because we still need people to be mature enough to vote and elect this, right? These individuals that would think about the collective. But what success is for me, because I've been asked, like, Paula, do you feel successful? And so I was like, I do feel successful, but I never thought on their way of what success is, right? Um, for example, being an influencer, for me, it's not a success, it's a fear that I have. because I realized that now I have to be very careful about what I say because people might hear it and it might go left and right. So being an influencer for me is not a success. It's a big challenge that I have. Uh, Being an executive, is it successful for the view of some people? It is successful, but what have I achieved by being a VP? You
Mm,
know, like I achieved more being a mid manager than being a VP. So I had more impact when I was a mid manager, when I was a team lead, than being a vice president. So, or I have more impact being a consultant and a teacher, professor at the university than being an executive in a
yeah.
billion corporate situation. So I don't know. I think the impact that I made, good impact, that is success for me.
Yeah, I love that. Paula, you are one incredible woman, and you've really motivated me, or inspired me, inspired, that we have a job to do, and job's the wrong word, but like the mission, and it is to unite the collective, but it's also, that soulful leadership, that authenticity, and having the courage to be brave enough to be a bit more vulnerable. And, I guess for me is trailblaze a different way. There is a different way to, life, leadership, and business. And I put life in there as well because it's so all interconnected. So huge thank you. How do we find out more about you? Is LinkedIn the best place to go to get inspo from you?
Definitely. First of all, thank you for the beautiful words.
You're welcome.
Um, but yeah, so LinkedIn is the best way, or finding out more about me. You have my website as
Yep,
well.
your
I'm
business.
redoing my website. I have new services and so on because since I am a company of one, right? Everything is word to mouth, and it's not really. So I'm restructuring everything to look like more professional.
I'm
But
doing the
it
same.
is.
It's never ending your own website, isn't it? You're
It's
so
never.
you're so like helping everybody else, and you're like, yes, yes, and then you get to your own and you're like, oh, okay, I've got to do it too.
Exactly. So I'm redoing the whole brand, the whole website. I do have a PR person now. Yay.
That's
So
exciting.
my might happen. But yes, LinkedIn, which is slash Paula Falco, and the website falcoux.com is
Cool.
the best way of reaching out to me.
Excellent. Oh, well, thank you so much, Paula. Yeah, it's been a real joy having you on the show, and I wish you a wonderful week ahead and lots of little successes each and every day as well. So,
Thank you.
thank you so much.
And I wish the same to you. And thank you so much again for inviting me to talk to you. This was a lovely conversation. And I hope we can do this again later, like one day again, maybe. Who knows?
Absolutely, absolutely. Maybe in like 12 months' time and see where we're both at in our businesses and in life, and yeah, all of that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, B. Thank you so much. Have a